There's a version of success that people love to talk about. The glamorous one. The highlight reels. The overnight breakthroughs. The viral moments. But there's another version. Quieter, slower, almost painfully ordinary. It doesn't photograph well. It doesn't trend. And most people avoid it not because it doesn't work, but because it works too well and demands too much. The truth is, the real formula for success is not hidden. It's visible everywhere. It's just deeply unpopular, because it asks for patience in a world addicted to speed, discipline in a culture obsessed with comfort, and persistence when quitting would feel so much easier. At its core, the success formula nobody likes begins with doing things you don't feel like doing. Not once, not occasionally, but repeatedly. On days when motivation is absent. On mornings when excuses feel justified. The uncomfortable reality is that success rarely comes from bursts of inspiration. It comes from structured, repeated effort, the kind that feels boring while you're doing it. People wait to feel ready, but readiness is often a byproduct of action, not a prerequisite for it. Then comes consistency, the most overused yet least practiced principle. Consistency sounds simple until you try sustaining effort without immediate reward. The first few days feel exciting. The first few weeks feel promising. But the real test begins when progress becomes invisible, when results are delayed, when nobody notices. This is the phase where most people quietly stop, convincing themselves it wasn't working, when in reality it was just beginning to. Another part of the formula people dislike is delayed gratification. Modern life trains us to expect quick returns, instant deliveries, instant streaming, instant validation. Success operates on an opposite timeline. You invest effort today for outcomes you might not see for months or years. You plant seeds without guarantees. And that psychological gap between effort and reward filters out the majority who simply don't want to wait. Equally unpopular is the role of repetition. Mastery is not built on novelty, but on doing the same fundamentals over and over. Athletes repeat drills, writers rewrite sentences, entrepreneurs refine offers. Repetition feels monotonous, which is why people abandon it for something more exciting. But repetition compounds skill, and compounded skill becomes competitive advantage. The formula also demands radical ownership, taking responsibility even when circumstances aren't your fault. This is uncomfortable because blame feels relieving. It protects the ego. But ownership creates power. When you accept that your outcomes are largely shaped by your actions, you also accept that improvement is within your control. That realization is liberating and terrifying. Another ingredient people resist is long periods of invisibility. Before recognition comes obscurity. Before authority comes anonymity. You work, build, practice, and refine, often without applause. In a world that rewards visibility, staying committed without external validation feels unnatural. Yet this hidden phase is where foundations are built strong enough to sustain visible success later. Failure, of course, is embedded in the formula, not as an obstacle but as a mechanism. Every failed attempt refines judgment. Every mistake sharpens decision-making. But culturally, failure is stigmatized. People fear looking incompetent more than they desire improvement, so they avoid the very experiences that accelerate growth. The success formula also strips away the comfort of excuses. Time, luck, connections, resources, all valid factors, yet often exaggerated to justify inaction. Highly successful individuals acknowledge constraints but operate within them rather than surrendering to them. They focus on controllables, not conveniences. Another disliked truth is that success is usually lonely in its early stages. When your habits change, your priorities shift. While others relax, you practice. While others celebrate small wins, you stay focused on larger goals. This temporary isolation feels like sacrifice, because it is. But it's also transitional, not permanent. There's also the compounding effect. Subtle, slow, almost invisible. Small daily improvements feel insignificant in isolation, but over time they create exponential separation. The difficulty is psychological. Humans struggle to stay committed to processes whose rewards are not immediately measurable. Yet compounding is where extraordinary outcomes are born. The formula further requires identity change. You don't achieve success while thinking like your past self. Habits evolve when self-perception evolves. You stop negotiating with discipline once you see it as part of who you are. This internal shift is harder than external effort, which is why many people attempt surface changes without deep transformation. Perhaps the most uncomfortable component is endurance. Not talent, not intelligence, but the ability to stay in the game longer than others. Many people are capable of success. Fewer remain committed long enough to encounter it. Endurance outlasts obstacles, trends, and temporary defeats. And finally, the formula demands humility, the willingness to stay a student regardless of progress. Arrogance stalls growth. Humility sustains it. The more you learn, the more you realize how much remains unknown. That mindset keeps improvement alive long after initial success arrives. When you step back, the reason this formula is unpopular becomes obvious. It's simple but not easy, clear but not comfortable, accessible but not glamorous. It offers no shortcuts, no hacks, no secret doors, only a proven path paved with discipline, patience, ownership, and resilience. Yet here's the paradox. The very reason most people dislike this formula is what makes it powerful. Because it filters. It selects those willing to endure discomfort in exchange for long-term reward. It rewards persistence over hype, substance over show, process over illusion. If you're waiting for motivation, you'll wait forever. If you're waiting for perfect conditions, they'll never arrive. But if you begin, imperfectly, inconsistently at first, but sincerely, you activate the formula. And once activated, it begins working quietly in the background of your life. So here's the call to action. Not dramatic, but decisive. Choose one area of your life, one habit, one commitment, and apply the formula without negotiation. Show up when you don't feel like it. Repeat when it feels boring. Continue when results feel delayed. Because success isn't built in bursts of intensity, it's built in layers of consistency. The success formula nobody likes is also the one nobody can deny. Ignore it, and progress stays distant. Embrace it, and results become inevitable. The path is demanding, yes, but it's also democratic. It doesn't care who starts, only who continues. And that choice, to continue when others stop, is where success quietly begins.